Hello, hello. Nice to see you folks. I'm Dustin Cormier, and this is How to Rock Astrology. Today we're reading a bit about what it's like when you've got the Sun in Gemini and Mars in Scorpio. A few funny things just to say right off the bat. Gemini, Mercury doesn't typically like Mars. This is a situation where even though the sun energy of Gemini doesn't necessarily get along per se with the Mars energy of Scorpio, this is more like, when you've got the sun in Gemini, even Gemini is not the most natural expression of the sun. It's a good place for the sun. Still very close to Aries, its exaltation point. And I believe that, if you'll just hold on for one sec. Yeah, so Mercury is neutral to the sun, which means that the sun is this is kind of a neutral spot. Better, it's a good spot. There are worse places for the sun. But Mercury is neutral to the sun, so the king here has to cater, the king, the sun, the noblest heights of the soul have to listen to the marketplace a little bit here, but by listening to the marketplace, it learns pathways to expressing itself that are joyous and connected to the fun-loving inspiration of the sun. And that's a good thing. Gemini can come through strong for that reason. Now, this is a very light sun that's light on its toes, because Gemini, especially depending on where Mercury is, Mercury ideally is in either Gemini or Taurus. The Mercury is actually enriched by the sun so long as it's not combust the sun. But Mercury does not do well in Cancer. If Mercury is in Cancer, this person's Mars and Scorpio will be very... Well, actually, it's in trine. Mars and Scorpio helps so many things. Even if your Mercury is in Cancer, Mars will help. Mars and Scorpio is trine that Mercury and helps you discipline your Mercury a little bit in a certain way. Although Mercury being in trine can mess with Mars, because Mars and Mercury are, again, they're not the best friends, but I digress. If Mercury is not well placed, it gives a harder time for this person to enjoy what's in the spirit. It makes them even lighter, too. But I digress. Sun in Gemini is light on its feet, is light in sex, is really light in everything, and enjoys lightness. So for this person, there's an interesting thing going on where Mars is naturally an enemy to anything Gemini, but you've got to put it somewhere, and so it's a necessary evil. This is one place where there's a lot about the Mars and Scorpio that compensates and actually complements the Gemini. It's like this necessary evil being put in a very good place so that it doesn't cause too much trouble for Gemini. Where Gemini can be very light and not delve too deeply into anything, and might be so extra sociable that they just blah, they can gossip, and they can be rather indiscriminate with their energy overall, and even their vitality. Their vitality can kind of come up and down like the wind, depending on their social situation and how happy they are. It's the Mars and Scorpio here gives this person a sense of the necessity of having some kind of operative control of their emotional reactions, their ambitions, and their emotional energy, so that they involve themselves a little deeper with people than most Geminis. This is the nature of Mars and Scorpio in general, but in particular, let me just see if I've got this right. Yeah. I must be reading something wrong here for one. Just give me one sec here, folks. Gemini. Yes, okay. So Scorpio is actually in the 6th. So the Mars here is in the 6th house from Gemini. So this adds a little bit of every moment grip on the lightness of Gemini. Scorpio is the natural 6th house from Gemini. So Mars in Scorpio here is going to find routines and habits and habitual ways of getting a grip on its ambitious energy and the scatteredness that Gemini often employs in its life. Has a much better ability to delve deeply into things and to research things. And this gives the sun energy in general a better grip on itself. The sun here ennobles Mars and pushes Mars into unstable places sometimes, because the Gemini is just flitty and flirty and just blah, it's all over the place, and it's inspired to do that. So this makes the Mars, it's an unstable position for the Mars to have to deal with. But again, this is the funny give and take of this position. It's ultimately good. The Mars gives the scattered Gemini, Mars and Scorpio gives scattered Gemini a grip on its own manipulative forces, on its ambition forces. It solidifies them into solid structures for the outpouring of its ambitious energy, so that the Gemini might be able to flit around and to have different jobs, different skills, different places for putting its energy, but it'll have many channels, but specific, purposeful, meaningful channels for its ambitious energy, and then it'll be able to switch it around a lot, and this puts pressure on those individual channels. The sun is in the 8th house. The sun being in Gemini is in the 8th house from Mars. So the sun is putting instability on the Mars, but this can make the Mars only that much more effective and strong and capable of holding the self-centered while all this energy goes into these many different places, people, and experiences and fields of knowledge and fields of data. This adds a researching capacity to the Gemini, that's so that they can experience very deeply the depths of any ambition that the Gemini seeks to find, although it's still moving. Any ambition that ruins the inspiration and the energy and the vitality of the Gemini, they won't go for in this combination. So it's a very good combination. Mars and Scorpio, again, is the best place for Mars. The Mars here compensates for the Gemini energy, helps it find some kind of sexual groove and rhythm that's not too light sexually. And there's an ability to assert oneself with force, which Gemini doesn't typically do, although there's a vindictiveness that can be very heavy, very almost naggy in the sense, where the Gemini wants to kind of all of a sudden get on top of people, to play from a intelligent, constant angle of showing everybody how controlled I am of my energy and how mentally and cerebrally stable and even sharp and witty I can be. And it's kind of to get on top of everybody in certain ways, but it's also to kind of encourage the same type of autonomous individuality and independence. It's kind of the energy that this person can come through. Essentially, in the bedroom, this can be it's very light. Gemini is always light, but the Scorpio here adds a depth that can be very enriching, although it's still going to be very soulful. There's a soulfulness added to this Gemini here. Now, the only way to really break this down and to see the duality between these two, but see how they enrich each other, is to talk about Sun and Gemini at its own sexual nature, and to talk about how Mars and Scorpio adds to the Gemini nature. So the following reading is pretty strictly Gemini Sun. What is the turn-ons and turn-offs of Gemini Sun? Then we're going to have a combined reading of the two after this. Okay? Turn-ons and turn-offs. This is coming from Erotic Astrology by Phyllis Vega. Turn-ons and turn-offs of Gemini Sun. There's no doubt that your major erogenous zone as a Gemini is located inside your head, mental, cerebral instigation and fun. And so this Mars in Scorpio is going to cause this person to have the mental body. They'll exercise, and they'll do what they have to do in order to clear their minds, in order to affect a very observing and very observant mind, to read into the psychology of a person. The Mars in Scorpio reads the psychology and gives the person data that is useful for them in what they've asked or what they've communicated, but also is useful to the specific person. So the Gemini's major erogenous zone is always its mind and speaking, communication, and these sorts of things. And what the Mars in Scorpio wants to talk about is probably power play dynamics and sort of, ooh, you're like this, and damn, that sexes me up, and very smoldering sexual banter from this person. Nothing turns you on faster or more completely than wit and charm, and you are aroused by erotic words and clever, evocative quips. Phone sex must have been invented by a Gemini. The same goes for the hot and heavy sexual banter that takes place in online chat rooms and via email. It's the gesture, it's the words, the language excites Gemini. Although you respond amorously to tactile pleasures and physical pleasures, it's sharing your erotic thoughts and dreams with your lover that really gets you going. Lusty words, yours or your partner's, engage your vivid imagination and inflame your libido. So much of the imagination of this person is wrapped up in their sexuality. In fact, this could be a Gemini who deliciously enjoys either doing this for the person or receiving it themselves, the erotic, cerebral intent of BDSM type of kink. They'll treat it lightly because it's Gemini, but it'll still have this vibe where the Gemini might want to get blindfolded and to give you a nice little thing to whip. You as a Gemini might enjoy trusting a partner enough, being vulnerable enough with a partner to talk in a light way and enjoy this sort of thing where you set up this whole schema of physical, sensual build-up for that'll excite the Mars and Scorpio. But it's the Gemini that enjoys the talking all the way up as the hand comes up the one leg just behind the butt, the bum cheek crease, and all these sensitive little erogenous zones and areas, and the other person talking on top of just like, I've wanted to do this for so long, I've been staring at you at the corner. The way that, even for partners who are deeply involved, it's just, you were wearing this thing the other day that had your chest coming out and your tits were just busting out of that shirt, and ever since I saw that, I've just been dying to put you on this bed and to lift my hands beneath your sweet little ass and these delicious little things that you do. All of this verbal banter coming through a slow, deliberate, delicate, sensual, yet passionate narrative coming from the Mars and Scorpio factor. There's an intensity here. It's riding on the Gemini's desire for a cerebral, banter and fueled experience that's real. They'll do the role play thing for sure, but it's usually they're the type of person who could, like the Mars and Scorpio won't be too off the cuff, won't ruin a moment like Geminis can do. The Gemini likes a bit of this sort of like, oh my god, this is exciting, isn't it? And kind of break character and to hope that they can for the sake of the fun. It's just the way Gemini is. They can't help but speak to the situation that they're in. It's like the Gemini adds this changeable lightness that can be so charming and endearing, but you can always expect the Mars in Scorpio, when requested to, or that they will request, to have some moments of depth where the fourth wall is not broken, where there's a real energy transmission going on, and afterwards the Gemini will chat about it in a light-hearted sort of way. The Gemini nature is so changeable that it's difficult to say exactly what you will like from one sexual encounter to the next. The Mars in Scorpio will find out what it likes. The Gemini twins' aversion to boredom is legendary. You as a Gemini consider variety the most important ingredient in lovemaking, and you thrive on innovation and versatility in yourself and often in a partner too, especially for a Gemini woman. You equate sex with fun you equate sex with fun, and you enjoy engaging in fantasy and role-playing games. Moreover, Geminis are fantastic kissers, and they enjoy doing it. There will be a real purposeful, slow, deep kiss with every kiss that this person does, even though the Gemini just likes to just do it just like while the two of you are sitting at a coffee shop waiting for coffee, and they're just talking about something. This kind of Gemini will go up and do a little just for the tease, and then come right back for a deep, all-encompassing smooch, and then suck their head back out and go, "Do you like that one?" Restless and perpetually on the go, the typical Gemini has a somewhat nervous sort of temperament. So sex play relaxes you, and soaking it in a tub or spa with your partner prior to lovemaking helps soothe your jangled nerves. So the Mars and Scorpio here will get the richest experience out of each one of these little sessions and moments that they can. Even though they will just be little moments in this whirlwind life of Gemini, who just really just seeks to get its ambitions done, enjoy playing the games, enjoy chatting with people and all these sorts of things. These little moments where they decide to relax and unwind will be deep because of the Mars and Scorpio, and that will make them effective as well. This person considers it very important to have these restful, passionate, libidinal moments to get the energy, the primal, visceral energy out, so that their mind can be more active, controlled, and disciplined in doing what the Gemini does. Since you were born under the most unpredictable sun sign in the zodiac, the only thing your lover can truly count on is that anything is possible. An adventurous lover, you long to please and be pleased. If you don't know what your partner likes, you ask. And the Mars and Scorpio will find some delicious playouts for whatever the lover answers with. The Mars and Scorpio will add a bit more. There's adventurousness there, but it's not like careening. They want to have stability typically and security with the one person. Although it's Gemini, so let's see what our reading says. This is from the same book. This is a combined reading of the Sun in Gemini with Mars in Scorpio. Mars in Scorpio adds a note of paradox to your Sun in Gemini that may puzzle even those closest to you. The twins' open, easygoing nature is often in conflict with the suspicious Scorpion's inherent secrecy, and you're often torn between the contradictory messages you receive from your head and from your heart. Scorpio is acting more at the heart, depth, self-healing phoenix burning in the engulfed fire of one's own passionate truth of unveiling what they are. And the head of Gemini, which is just kind of like, when was the last time I had a beer? When was the last time I watched that show that I liked? Just some sort of letting go experience. A chameleon in the bedroom as elsewhere. You are an odd combination of passion, Scorpio, and intellect, Scorpio and Gemini. Sometimes you come off as playful and lighthearted. Yet other nights, nothing seems to matter except your intense sexuality and desire for physical gratification. Either way, no partner of yours is ever bored in bed, because the Gemini will always keep it either playful and lighthearted and moving around, and this is just so, but we don't need to have a deep sex moment right now, baby. We can just have I'm just blah, I'm just so in it right now. And they'll listen. The Mars and Scorpio will listen, but they'll do little things and tell the partner to start ringing this bell, to just every now and then just sort of like, this thing we do every once in a while, whatever this intense sexual experience is. We haven't had one of those nights in a while. Just got a bottle of wine, maybe we could just do one of those. And then it's a deeper experience, right? But they'll listen to you as a Gemini with Mars and Scorpio will find ways of keeping it light. And a partner that works well for you is someone who appreciates the lightness, but also is always looking to be taken by the deep seductive magnetism of those moments where your earthy sexuality for its own sake just unfurls in deep, long lovemaking moments. Someone who appreciates both is good for you. So yeah, I hope you guys dug that. That was a long one. These are all turning out long, but that's okay. Hope you guys dug it. I'm Dustin Cormier for How to Rock Astrology. Hope you enjoyed this reading. Like, comment, subscribe, all the things, and tell me what you thought. I'm excited to hear from you. Thanks for watching.